This is the Glenview District 34 Kindergarten through 5th grade Safety in the Elementary Science Classroom video. Science activities in the elementary classroom are safe, provided that you and your students are aware of potential hazards and take all necessary and appropriate precautions. Teachers who model safe lab practices and instruct students to do the same will not only avoid injury now, but they will also be better preparing students for lab experiences in the upper-level science classes. Many potential hazards can be eliminated if you are organized and prepared. Always perform activities and experiments yourself before assigning them to students. Take time to plan. Identify the materials you will need and how you will distribute them to students. Identify safety issues and plan how you will address these with students. Consider how you will instruct students as they conduct the activity. Always consider possible emergencies and plan how you will handle them should they occur. Make sure emergency supplies are readily available and that you know how to use them. Plan how you will collect materials and safely dispose of waste after the activity. And plan to have students wash their hands after completing a lesson that includes an experiment or activity. Know the Illinois rules and regulations. Provide adequate instructions to students to safely complete activity. Go over lab procedures before the experiment begins. Inform students of all possible hazards. Go over lab safety rules more than once. And review safety rules before every lab activity. Teachers are always required to model safety rules for the class. Perform full demonstrations of experiments as you go over safety instructions with students. Teachers should wear goggles at all times. Always consider how old the children are, their maturity level, and whether or not they can appreciate the risk involved in the activity. Teachers must provide adequate supervision, maintain all lab equipment to ensure that it can be used safely, and provide safe facilities. Your school district shares this liability as well. Do not perform labs in rooms that are not equipped with adequate safety materials. Remember, saying that you did not know about potential hazards will not be a good defense in the event of an accident. Teachers are required and expected to make sure they know what the possible hazards are, so plan ahead. The next step is to develop student safety rules. Introduce safe practices and help your students understand why and how these practices are used. You may either set the rules or develop science safety rules with your students. Either way, make sure students understand these rules and why they are necessary. You may choose to have students create posters for display in the room throughout the year to emphasize safety and remind students of the specific safety rules. There are 6 student lab safety rules to follow. First, always get your teacher's approval before conducting a science activity and be sure to have your teacher supervise whenever you conduct a science lab. Never experiment on your own. Second, always wear safety goggles when your teacher tells you to do so. Do not remove your goggles until your teacher says that it is okay. Third, if instructed to do so, wear an apron or smock to protect your clothing. Fourth, read and follow all warning labels on substances being used. Next, be sure your teacher is aware of any allergies you may have. And finally, carefully follow all instructions when conducting a science activity. Be sure to use substances exactly as described in the activity. The next step are teacher responsibilities. Maintaining science lab safety equipment. You, your students, and any visitors to the classroom should wear goggles whenever you conduct or observe hands-on activities. Consider the following to ensure that you and your students are properly protected during science activities. Wear properly fitting, splash-proof safety goggles when working with chemicals or observing others who are working with chemicals. You will find that most kindergarten through 6th grade science activity procedures call for household chemicals. Before using these, study the product label carefully to learn the hazards and warnings. Always store chemicals and solutions in properly labeled containers meant for holding chemicals and solutions. Never store chemicals in containers that were originally used for food. Always wear high-impact safety goggles when working with flying objects such as rubber bands. Use gloves, heat or cold-resistant mitts, or other hand protection when working with hot materials, dry ice, noxious plants, liquids, or live animals. Students need to tie back long hair and secure loose clothing and dangling jewelry, especially when working with chemicals or heat sources. Remind students to keep science materials away from their mouths, noses, or eyes when conducting or cleaning after an activity or experiment. The next step is to sanitize science lab safety equipment. After use, shared goggles, including the straps, should be thoroughly washed in warm water containing a small amount of chlorine bleach. The goggles should be thoroughly rinsed after washing and allowed to dry before the next use. And finally, establish emergency procedures. Talk with other science teachers and your principal to develop and establish emergency procedures for first aid, electric shock, poisoning, burns, cuts, and allergic reactions. Find contact information and keep it handy so that you can contact the appropriate authorities and response agencies in the event of an emergency. Thank you for viewing this Science Lab Safety video. Please remember to sign your name on the Google Doc provided to confirm that you have viewed the video and understand your responsibilities in the science classroom.